Welcome to the Happy Rebel podcast, where we explore the sacred in between, the liminal spaces where healing, growth, and transformation take root. I'm your host, Kelly Street, therapist, coach, and the heart behind Happy Rebel, where we blend self-development practices with the tools to support your journey. It's my mission to help others embrace both the light and the dark within us. Here, we dive deep into living authentically, navigating transitions, and finding meaning in the shadows. You'll hear soulful conversations and practical wisdom shared by guests, along with my own teachings and reflections. So whether you're seeking guidance through a tough transition, looking to ignite your creativity, or craving a deeper connection with yourself, you're in the right place. This is the Happy Rebel podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Close your eyes if it's safe to do so. Take a deep breath in through your nose and release slowly through your mouth. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your belly soften. Breathe into the part of you that is tired of fighting. Breathe out the illusion that you have to hold it all together. Whisper to yourself, either silently or aloud, "It's okay to let go. I don't have to carry it all." Take one more deep breath in, release that breath, and come back when you're ready. Today, we're talking about surrender, but the kind of surrender that doesn't mean giving up, but about giving in. Giving into what's real, to what's true, giving into what's beyond our control. I'm going to share a personal story about a ceremony that cracked me open in ways I did not see coming, and a little bit about some practices that you can do to engage in your own experience of surrender. So, a little bit about surrender as a whole is the misconception that I had about surrender is that surrender was about defeat. And truly, surrendering isn't about defeat. It's more like the kind of thing that requires trust. Surrender is the thing that you meet when you've tried everything else and finally you realize you don't have to fight your way through it. So let's go with a definition. Surrender is the conscious decision to stop resisting what is and instead meet life on its own terms. Surrender is not passive. Surrender is not weak. It's brave. Surrender asks us to soften into uncertainty, to release control, and to trust something bigger than our own plans. So I think a good place to start with surrender is the idea of surrender versus control. Because so often we think that surrender will be akin to death or to allowing bad behavior or bad things to happen. And I've been there. That's the place where I was at with my surrender journey. But really, surrender is about releasing and giving up control. So often we think that control will make us feel safe. If we can control all of the elements, all of the variables as much as possible, if we have plan A, B, C, D, and E, that we'll be safe. But control is an illusion, and control can actually become a prison of our own making. When we grip tightly to having specific outcomes, when we grip onto or hold on to identities or roles or specific timelines that things have to happen, all we're doing is causing our own suffering. Control says, if I just work hard enough, I can bend reality to my will. Surrender says, even if I can't, I will still be okay. Control to me is really fear that is dressed up as some type of certainty. It's like the wolf in sheep's clothing, whereas the wolf is control, but the sheep is really fear. What we're afraid of, we think if we can control all of the elements, that then we'll really know. We'll know that something is right. Control for people can often look like over-scheduling, over-explaining, over-exerting, doing too much, explaining too much, trying too hard. Whereas surrender invites us to trust the process and not just the result, to trust ourselves all along the way. So I just want you to ask yourself in this moment of thinking about surrender versus control, just ask, where in my life do I trust myself only when I'm in control? Is it around food, that you only trust yourself when you're in control of the ingredients or in control of the menu? Do you only trust yourself with finances, but you don't trust anybody else to be able to spend or observe the rules that you have laid out or the boundaries that you have laid out? Is it in relationships? Is it at work? Is it thinking that if you work out every single day for the rest of your life, that you won't age, that you won't have any health issues? There are so many different areas of our lives and ways that this surrender versus control can come up. And just a reminder that surrender doesn't mean that we're not still trying. So, like the working out every day thing, surrender doesn't mean that you just stop, taking care of your body and go, whatever, I'm surrendering to my aging process. No, it just means that the mindset shift goes from, if I do this, this will happen, to I'm trying to do this because I care, because I want this to happen. But knowing that you could hurt yourself, pull a muscle, have an illness come up, and that things could change at any moment. It's about what you do when those surprise things come up that take you off of the path that you think you're supposed to be on. So, a little personal story about surrendering. About a year ago, I found myself at an ayahuasca retreat in Mexico with 15 other women. I came into that experience anticipating that it could be hard. And so I had steeled myself for it. I followed the diet that we were supposed to follow. I did all the recommendations thinking, if I can control all of these variables, it won't be so hard. It will be a lot easier for me. I came in ready to fight, to work hard, and honestly, to really sort of like earn my healing, to earn my stripes, that I was doing this difficult thing. And you know what? I'm a badass. I can get through it. I was expecting it to be a battle. And then I go in, and that energy just didn't work with the medicine. The more you tried to fight the ayahuasca medicine, the more that it was going to fight back. And I can't explain it, and it might be hard to understand unless you've done it. But I just have to say, what this looked like was me finding myself trying to reach for all of these different ways I could comfort myself, whether it was vomiting, going to the bathroom, going outside and just laying on the ground. I was seeking and reaching for all of these different things that could potentially make me feel better, until the guide for that experience came up to me and she just said, "You've got to surrender. You've got to surrender to the medicine. You've got to just let go, be still. What will happen if you just be still and allow?" And I told her in that moment, surrendering feels like death, feels like I'm giving myself over to the experience and I have to have some control. And she said, "Okay, then you'll just have what you're always having." So as I'm laying on the ground, feeling these shock waves of fight and desire to move and to push back through my body, I kept coming back to the word surrender, surrender, surrender. What if you just let go? And so for the rest of that ceremony, the 4 hours or more that we had left, I just went into a cocoon inside. And every time I wanted to move, fight, get up, do something different, I replayed the word surrender in my mind and let go of the resistance to the discomfort I was having, the resistance to the idea that I could fight my way through this. I let go of the resistance to control my experience. And what I found was that I then heard, "You have been trying so hard and fighting so hard for everything. Everything. What if you just stopped trying so hard and allowed things to happen?" And that was a takeaway that I am still sitting with, even in the midst of changes and ideas for my business and my personal life and our home. What if I could just stop forcing something to happen and instead allow it to unfold, allow it to open up in its own timing? So I wonder about that for yourself, for your life. Maybe you're not thinking about going and doing an ayahuasca ceremony or doing anything like that. But where in your life are you white knuckling, holding tension so hard, thinking that you can control the outcome or you can make something happen, when really the decision might not be up to you to make that happen? Just a thought. So when I think about surrender, I think about fighting back. And when I think about fighting, I always think about my name. So the name Kelly is often associated or thought of to mean warrior. And as a child, as an adult, like my whole life, I've kind of taken to heart that meaning that, well, my name means warrior, so I'm supposed to be a fighter. And fighters don't surrender. I mean, there is all of this archetypal history and tales as old as time about who, when they knew that they were going to be losing or become a prisoner of war, that they would take their own lives, that they would do a compassionate suicide for themselves. And that, I think, is at the heart of what it feels like to me to surrender. There's this like deep sort of soul ancestral idea that if I surrender, if I give up control, that it would literally cost me my own life. And I'm sure there's some work that I can continue to do and will continue to do around that. But I will just say that identity, really aligning myself with the idea of that type of a warrior who fights to the death, has certainly at times empowered me, but it has also been exhausting. When the fight turns inward, or when the fight turns toward control, that becomes a cage. Strength needs balance. The warrior needs rest. When you're doing a yoga practice, there's warrior 1, 2, and 3, moving your body through these stages of awareness and alertness. But then there's peaceful warrior, where you flip your palm and look back. And in that pose, you're kind of surrendering your body to be open. You're literally like exposing your belly and your chest, and you're getting a moment of respite from those really intensive, focused postures. So if you are someone who also struggles with surrendering, I just invite you to think about that metaphor of the strong warrior versus the peaceful warrior, and reflect on whether you're fighting for something or whether you're fighting against something. And in the midst of whether you're fighting for or fighting against, is the fight actually worth it? Is the thing you're fighting for, whether it's keeping a relationship together, keeping a business afloat, keeping your job? Certainly there are costs and benefits on either side. But when you get to the point where you are completely exhausting yourself, just ask, what am I fighting for, actually? And see if there's an answer that comes to you that maybe changes what you're fighting for or allows you to be able to seek those moments of surrender. The thing about surrender is that life has its own plan. Sometimes life reroutes us, not to punish us, but maybe to initiate us into some next phase or some next skill that we need to build. Life invites us to surrender into the mystery that it holds for us. I have had a lot of invitations to surrender to the unknown over the last 8 years of my life, actually even further than 8 years back. 12 years ago, I was surrendering to the knowledge that the marriage I was in at the time was over and that there really was nothing to salvage. Surrendering to becoming a divorced person. And then a few years later, surrendering to the process of infertility and still trying to find ways to build my family that didn't come easily or cheaply. I have surrendered to the unknown when it comes to creativity and going into writing a book and not knowing what would come of it, if anything, but just knowing that I needed to follow the process of writing and creating. And for many of us, we surrender to the process of grieving a loss of a loved one, whether it's before they're even gone. My dad's dad, my grandpa, who I grew up living down the road from, is in late stage dementia. And there's a grief that comes with losing someone before they're already gone. Surrendering is saying to yourself, I did everything right, quote, the right way, and life still didn't unfold the way I wanted or I hoped, but allowing for that space to see what could come from not unfolding the way we wanted. The question with surrender isn't always, what more can I do? Sometimes the question is, what can I let go of? So when it comes to surrender, it's almost this like intangible way of being, this mindset shift that can be really difficult to wrap your head around. So I have some tools and some practices that I think could help in allowing for this path of surrender. The first practice is, of course, age-old journaling. Here are 3 journal prompts that you might want to try if surrender is something that you're interested in. Ask yourself or write about, what am I gripping tightly to right now? What am I gripping tightly to right now? Another prompt, what would it look like to loosen my grip? And the third prompt, what might I discover if I stopped fighting? So these 3 journal prompts or similar ones about surrender, you could even just journal on the idea of like, what is surrender? What does that mean to me? How would that feel or look like for me? But for these journal prompts, I encourage you to try free association writing, just freehand writing. Write until your mind starts to let go of the need to control what you're putting on the page. And maybe the writing gets messy. Maybe it doesn't look perfect on the page. Maybe you won't even be able to read it back to yourself, but just allow the words to flow out of you. Surrender to the process of writing about surrender. I know it's a little meta, but stay with me. A second practice is the embodied practice called tense and release. So many of us have done this. Many of us know what this is. But the basic premise is you tense every muscle in your body for 5 to 10 seconds. Then you exhale and release, completely letting go of all tension. Feel the contrast between tension and release. Do this practice 2 or 3 times with slow breath, inhaling, then tensing and holding, exhaling, and releasing. This way, you are actually teaching your body how to surrender. So it starts with the body, and then the mind knows it's okay. I can let go. I can just be. A third practice is movement. So choose a song that stirs up intense emotion or even just a feeling of spaciousness in you. The song, some sort of a song that allows you to feel free, or a song that has you feeling sad, whatever it is. Just what matters is that there is a song that brings about a more intensive emotion in you. From there, let your body move however it wants. No structure, no goal, just freedom. Yes, I'm talking about sort of interpretive dance, moving however your body chooses, wants to move in that moment to the beat of that song or the words of the song. Do whatever just feels right. Another way that you can teach your body how to surrender. The last suggestion for a practice to engage with surrender is to write a note to what you're trying to control. So this is a little bit of a surrender ritual. Write a note to what you're trying to control, whether it's an outcome, a person, or even a timeline. I have to get married next year, or I have to ... Write that note and then burn it safely, of course. Bury it. Find some way to let it go, whether it's the earth or fire holding that note for you. Write it and let it go. So just some thoughts in closing. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means giving in to what's real. It means loosening our grip on how we thought life should be and learning to trust what's actually unfolding. Surrender is not something that we master. It's something that we return to again and again, breath by breath. When the path is unclear, when your heart is tired, when the mind clings, that's when surrender becomes the medicine. You don't have to do more. You don't have to push harder. You can lay down your armor. You can rest. You can trust the unknown. A little mantra to send you off with. You could repeat, I don't need to know the way. I just need to trust the next step. I don't need to know the way. I just need to trust the next step. Be surrendering. Thank you for being part of the Happy Rebel podcast community. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Happy Rebel. If you've enjoyed our episodes, please consider rating, liking, and reviewing the podcast. It truly does help us grow. Until next time, this is Kelly Street. Remember, embrace the dark and the light.